Welcome to the Princeton Podcast, where we talk about upcoming events, news, and local businesses. This is Princeton. Play here, stay here.
Before we get started today, just a reminder to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We're also recording on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe at This Is Princeton MN.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Twice New Clothing and Treasures and Sherburne State Bank. I'm Zach Kitzman here with Kim Young and Mary Patnode.
As always, we are excited about today's guests. You could say the grass really is greener on the other side because of them. Please welcome our guests, Bob Gerald, the Director of Public Works in the City of Princeton, and Jill Papish, an esteemed member of the Princeton Parks Board. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're super excited to have you guys here and just talk all about parks today in Princeton. And we feel like we want to let the community know about all of the parks that we have. I feel like we have so many, and I also feel like there's people that don't know about all of them and all of the things that we can do. So let's get to it and start talking about, right before we started recording, we talked that we have 8 parks in Princeton. I think that is awesome for our little community, and let's get started and talk about Riverside Reeby Park, and maybe you guys want to start with the history of that park and how it started with Riverside and now how it became Riverside Reeby.
If you go back in history and look, there's a photo up at City Hall, and that was actually the football field way back.
Yep.
Riverside Park was the football field?
Yep.
No way.
That's where Dad played.
No way.
From there it progressed through time, through the park board, and my predecessor. Campground was added, and it was just kind of a city campground, 8 spots. Wasn't the bathrooms weren't the greatest. A few years ago, the park board, we decided to replace the restrooms, so we now have modern showers and restrooms available, as well as water and electric hookup for 8 RV sites, and then there's 3 tent sites as well. And then a few years ago, through funding options, we were able to do a project where we added a fishing pier, an ADA compliant kayak launch, boat launch, the boat ramp was improved, as well as trail system going through there. And then the Reeby family donated on the east side of the Rum acreage to add onto our park, where we added in disc golf, dog park, walking trail, and primitive campsites, as well as picnic sites throughout that loop. And then the Lions, through their generosity, added a picnic shelter, and also part of that project we were able to put in a vault toilet on the other side. So it's been a labor of love, but it's taken time, but we've gotten quite a bit done.
I would say. No, to go back to the football piece, was that where the campground is now?
Yes.
Okay, that was a football field, yeah. I knew they played football there for high school, but I wasn't exactly sure where it was located.
If you
My
look-
mind is stuck there. Like a 100-yard football field was right there.
Yeah, we should bring it back.
Yeah.
For real. Kicking
I
the-
can't get
kick
it
the
out of
ball
my
into the river.
mind. That, like, where did people park?
Up on top, there was a lot of parking around, up in the streets, and so,
And there were bleachers and,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so stuck on that there was a football field down there.
Well,
That's
next
really
time you're
cool.
at City Hall, take a look at the photo. You'll see it.
Yeah, and Dad played there.
With the river being so close and it flooding every spring, like what precautions or what do you guys have to do every year or prevent, or what happens?
Really, there's nothing we can do to prevent the flooding, but what we do in anticipation is we pull so there's a lift station for the restrooms down there. So that lift station pump gets pulled out, so we're not dumping river water into our sanitary sewer system. The power gets shut down. One of the things we did when we did the improvements, we raised all the electrical outlets to try and get them as high as we could, so you could still use it as a camper for the campers, but yet stay above that typical flood stage. And we've been pretty successful. We had a lot of problems in the past, so when we did the improvements, we made sure we tried to make it user-friendly that way. And then we added more electrical for the Light Up Princeton on the picnic shelter that's there, and we raised all of those. We've since added, with all the improvements and amenities, we have been adding security cameras to most of our facilities.
Nice.
What's the highest the river or that park has gotten, to your knowledge?
I believe it's about 4 feet up on the restroom doors.
Wow.
So the highest I've ever seen it, if you look at where the embroidery place is, water's come up into their back parking lot
Okay.
to the door.
Yeah, well, even this past spring, that we got to see that firsthand, and you guys know, because I got a call from you at 6:30 in the morning and said, you got volunteers coming down to finish the lights? Yeah, they'll be down there after school. No, now.
Yeah.
And so we
And
were
here
just
comes the
like
river.
calling everybody I could think of, and I think one of your employees, one of the employees had said, I think we have about an hour, and it was perfectly dry.
Yep.
And I was like, what? You know, we're just casually taking out
Yeah.
everything.
Kim's
And all of a
texting all of
sudden-
us and is like, is anybody else able to come? Because apparently we're going to be flooded in like an hour. And we're just
Okay,
like,
Bob.
be
You
there
know?
as soon as we get there.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
is it started at all? And you're like, no. Okay, well, we'll be there soon.
Yeah, and then it just, that was really incredible.
Oh my
And it
gosh,
was
we
just
got there and it
running.
just was like,
Yeah,
we're like, hurry!
bringing stuff up the hill, and yeah, that was really kind of cool to be a part of, to see that,
Then
and how quickly.
How fast?
one of my guys slogging through ends up catching a fish.
Yes,
Yes.
yep, yep.
With his hands?
Austin caught it,
Yep.
yeah.
With his hands.
Yes.
Yeah, way over on the other side of the park. We were standing there kind of getting the last of it, and he was, had boots on, and
Fish
he's like,
on!
oh, here's a fish. And so,
Jeez.
It was such a rush though. And then when we got done, we just stood there and it just
yeah,
kept rising.
it was incredible, so.
You guys hit it right on the
I was going
right
to say,
on the head.
Bob's pretty amazing to be able to, within an hour, say it's going
Yes.
to be flooding when it doesn't look like it's going to.
Not at all. That was really something to see.
And
So,
there used to be a sign, I don't know if it's there anymore, it's on the north side of the river, that was the height of the largest flood.
Yeah,
Oh.
there was a gauging station, and when they redid the bridges back in 2010, that never came back, and we've been trying to get the DNR to put gauging stations back in, just to help us monitor them. Because we used to have to, we'd get a call every now and again to go out and give a reading. I can't remember who it was we would give that information to, but we'd get a call that, can you go read the gauging station? But it was anticipation of where it's going downstream and how fast it's going to get to the next town
oh, really?
when the surge comes through.
Interesting.
Well, way back in history, before the bridges were redone, there were times where it flooded, you couldn't get into town. Because I live on the north end, and I remember I was 3-4 years old, and we couldn't get into town if the river flooded too high.
Really?
Where?
Like the street flooded?
Yeah.
So
What's-
on the neighbor
what street?
side of the roundabout?
Nope, it would be on high-tech side. That bridge,
Yeah.
The Dunn Bridge.
the Dunn
Oh,
Bridge.
okay.
So before,
That high?
yeah, there was, I don't know, at least one year I remember, before the new bridges were put in, and we couldn't get into town. It was a week of staying
I
at
suppose
home.
those bridges were a little bit lower.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was before the the going around town, before they put 169 through, so it was, nobody could get into town or into Malacca for that matter if you couldn't get through Princeton.
Right.
Because it was 169.
Yeah, because I was
And,
mine.
and Highway 95.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, all these fun facts.
So, as far as things to do there, in the summer, there's walking trails in both Reby and Riverside. There's a big playground there. There's camping. There's frisbee golf. And in the winter, do people cross-country ski in Reby?
Actually, the Reby is more, we try to gear that towards snowshoeing.
Oh, snowshoeing, okay.
The cross-country skiing is popular up in Pioneer Park.
Okay, so snowshoeing, we do the Light Up Princeton and Riverside, the Luminary Walk in
That's in
Reby.
Yep.
Yep, unfortunately, we had to cancel that.
It was a little chilly.
It was a little chilly that day. Yeah, am I forgetting anything? We do the duck drop there. And so, speaking of that, as far as maintenance of the park, this year there was a tree that fell across the river. And so, I didn't realize before that the city has to have that tree removed, and then you work with the DNR about, you can't remove the stump or something?
Right, if the stump is still, partially attached, for erosion purposes, they're fine with you cutting the tree out, but you leave the stump behind so that it minimizes your erosion if the river bumps up again.
Because now it seems to be sort of split. I'm assuming that happened because of the flood?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just how it swirled around as the water comes through. I mean, it's a powerful force.
No kidding,
Yeah.
because that really changed the look, in the prior years that I've been here for the duck drop, you can walk all along the river
Mhm.
and follow them coming, and now there's it's like a big crater that you have to go around. And so it just will change every year, I suppose, with the
Yep.
way that the
Yeah.
flooding goes.
Because a few years back, there was one that came up onto that little sandbar,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the guys were gonna try and maybe make something out of it, but I think
It's
Was-
moved downstream. It's now
yeah.
down behind the library.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yep.
and then the one you're talking about kind of replaced it, because now that's in that same area.
Yeah, because somebody said you could make a pool out of that one. Mm-hmm.
Little kiddie pool.
Uh-huh, yeah.
So the park or the walking path at Riverside, no, at Reby Park, is that about a mile if you loop the whole thing?
Yeah, I mapped it out, and it's just under a mile.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can bring dogs on leashes
Yep,
through that? Okay.
yep.
Yeah, I always see people down at the dog park, and there's always people parked by, I've
Forgot
never
about the dog
done.
park.
Yeah, Bob mentioned the dog park, but it's always looks like it's popular, and
It's very popular, and that, you don't have to have them leashed in there. A couple years ago, we had floodwaters come through and damage the fence, and we didn't have time or personnel to make the repairs, and I was contacted, a group of volunteers came in, we supplied the materials, and they were kind enough to reset that west end part of the fence.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's very popular around the community and it's nice to know that they appreciate it so much they're willing to put in some labor for it, because
Yeah.
then there's ownership in it.
That's right.
yeah.
Yep.
So you guys fill water, I mean, there's always water there, I've not been there yet.
At the dog park?
Yeah,
There's a fountain
there's a fountain there, okay.
with a dog watering bowl at the bottom,
Okay.
and that's in the northeast corner.
Have you brought your
No.
puppy there yet? Zach has a new puppy, it's a good place to socialize.
Yep, she doesn't really go anywhere besides the land.
Well, cool. Let's move on to the other parks since we have 7 more to talk about. So you guys can kind of take it from here and,
Well, we could go to Pioneer Park. I had mentioned that. That's mostly rough trail, not rough trails, they're just cut. We just mow them. There's nothing really down there for surfacing other than grass. It's used by cross-country skiers, as well as the school uses it annually for a cross-country meet.
oh, is Pioneer Park, so it's over by the middle school?
Yes,
Okay.
directly south of the middle school.
Okay.
And then from the middle school into Pioneer Park, there's we've done 5 stream bank stabilization projects, and there's one in Pioneer Park. And the idea behind it is, when we improved our wastewater plant, we had to meet phosphorus standards, and they wanted us to buy phosphorus credits. Well, the credits really didn't do anything to stop phosphorus going into the river. So we proposed that we would do these projects, and if you stop the erosion, soil naturally holds phosphorus, and so whenever a bank sloughs, you're dumping tons of phosphorus into the water, which causes algae blooms, which kills fish. So we, working with MPCA and a couple different contractors, we bid it out, and it was a 4-year project to get these stream banks done. And basically what it is natural plantings. Some of it's, they're benched back, so you could actually, we don't want anybody walking on them because we're trying to stabilize the soils. But there's grasses, flowers, trees, and so on a regular, annually, we're always working on them. So in the springtime, Soil and Water offers up, the tree bundles, the little pencil-sized trees
Yep.
and shrubs. So we
Are
buy.
you talking about like those erosion nets along corners and banks along the river?
Yep, if you look at the
Okay.
toe, you'll see some of those. You'll see the very bottom, that's where most of that is. Otherwise, everything else above it is natural. It's all trees or grasses, flowers. But in the springtime, we'll add a lot of dogwoods, cranberry, white pine into these projects just to help continue that growth. So if there's a bare spot, we try and hold those up.
And those are all the fastest growing trees, plants?
Some are, but they're mostly what we're after is what's water tolerant. So they can take that rise in the river where they can be submerged for a little while, and then when it goes back down, they flourish.
Nice.
And is that the park that there's an obstacle course?
Yes.
Pioneer?
Yep.
Okay.
So that was put in years ago, and then we had a Eagle Scout project. A gentleman approached and wanted to make some repairs, and so he rebuilt a few of them. So as you walk through, you'll find exercise stations.
Cool.
Yeah, chin-up bars, I think there's a sit-up bench, there's a balance beam, there's a, like a monkey ladder.
guard.
Yep.
Yep.
And not all of our parks, but a number of them, you'll find different Eagle Scout projects in them. Reby has one, Pioneer, the Veterans Park has one, the Rainbow Park.
Oh.
Is
What's
there
the one at Veterans Park?
Veterans Park, a Eagle Scout went in and he just kind of cleaned things up and,
He built a bike rack,
Bike rack.
put up new signage, painted the bench, painted the flagpole, replaced the flag.
did a solar light on it.
Yep.
Oh,
Is
nice.
Veterans what I know as Triangle Park?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Yep.
Has
And
it
then-
always been Veterans Park, but now
It's always been Veterans Park,
but
but
people have
call
always
it.
called it Triangle Park? Okay, because that's what I knew it growing up.
There's
Yep.
actually a stone, wasn't there, that we found that says that it's, no.
Veterans?
No, it had a different name. There was a stone in the ground. Because remember we were talking about, it was like, now we have 3 names for it.
Oh,
Veterans Park, Triangle Park, and where's another name?
I don't
Remember what it is.
recall.
Anyway, and then Rainbow Park has the Gaga Pit, which was done by an Eagle Scout.
okay.
Reby's was the Pollinator Garden and
Where's the Rainbow Park?
north end of town.
Right on Rum River Drive.
Rum River Drive and 12th Street North. Back when Rum River Drive was 169, that was actually a wayside rest. So the stone fire ring that's in there in the fireplace,
Yeah.
there's a few of those still left around the state. So that's, that was part of the work program by FDR. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
they were putting those in on along highways.
Mhm.
Really, and that's still there?
Yep.
Cool.
And the playground there is the old South Elementary playground
Yes.
equipment,
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
Yep, we acquired
That's
that
pretty
from the
cool.
school district, and my crew did a fantastic job with help of a contractor. We pulled it out of South Elementary and moved it up there and got it mostly put back in place.
That was a big job. I remember that.
When you pull that, do you pull each piece individually? Do you have to break it all down and like a giant
Yep.
set? Oh, fun.
Took
Ugh.
a
like
lot of
IKEA.
pictures. Yep,
Yeah.
you take a lot of pictures and then you just pull it apart and it's an
Hope for
erector
the
set, you
best.
put it back
Nice.
together.
Uh-huh.
So Rainbow Park I see kids playing basketball there all the time.
Mhm.
It's so good to see. So I didn't know about the Gaga Pit.
Yep.
That was at the senior party this year, and I know that was that game, right?
Yep. Mhm.
Super
Yep.
popular game. So there's a lot to do for kids at Rainbow Park.
Yeah, well, and multiple ages,
Mhm.
because the stuff that came from South Elementary is kind of geared towards that kindergarten through 2nd graders. On the other side of the parking lot, there's other things for some smaller kids. There's the fire truck, jungle gym is over there.
Okay.
There's an old merry-go-round.
Yep. So there's quite a bit to do. And then as well, we had, you probably noticed the deforestation from the oak wilt. So we've been trying to repopulate it with trees. Last year, Crystal Cabinets was kind enough to donate labor to put, I think it was 29 trees in.
Oh, wow.
So we supplied
Oh,
the
that's
trees and they
awesome.
supplied the labor.
Nice.
And the year before that, the 2nd graders, 1st graders, walked down from the new primary school on the path on 12th and helped plant, and they were all pine trees, weren't they?
Yes.
Oh, that is super cool.
That
Yeah.
is neat.
Yeah. So get the kids involved and then they kind
Mhm.
of take ownership of the park and
Yeah.
make sure that it's kept up.
Is there a shelter at Rainbow Park?
Yep.
And picnic tables?
Mhm.
So that's like a great place for a
And a
daycare
grill.
field trip.
Yep.
For all you daycare providers looking for
Yeah.
stuff to do this summer for the
Yep.
kids, that'd be a great field trip.
So a majority of the picnic shelters you'll see in our parks were put in either through in-kind work or monetary from the Lions here in town. So when you go to the fly-in breakfast, I mean, that's what
That's
that
what
money's
it's
actually
for.
going for.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, which I think is fantastic. And then the furniture up there, the tables under the shelter, I get creative once in a while on how we put stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually, they were tables from a prison.
Oh, well, whatever you can get.
Well, the price was right, they're
Yeah.
utilitarian, it's stainless
Right.
steel, and
Yep.
they'll be there for a long, long time.
Right.
And interesting.
Yeah.
And is that the only playground with a merry-go-round?
No.
No, we have a
Civic.
merry-go-round over at Civic Center.
Oh, it's Civic Center, okay. Just want
Oh,
to make
the
sure that
Civic
kids have
Center.
somewhere to play and throw up, like I did when I was a kid.
Yes, get whipped off, break arms and stuff.
Well, that was even, they were removed. The one from Civic Center was removed for maintenance and
Yeah.
cleaning up. And Bob got some heat from that, thought that they were being taken away for good. And where did the
Oh.
merry-go-round go?
Yeah,
How
you
dare
gotta
you.
have 'em.
How
Exactly,
dare you.
yeah.
I'm not exaggerating when I say it was out 15 minutes and my phone was ringing.
No
Wow.
way. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I mean, that's, if I was to
Excuse
take
me.
my kids to a park
That's a
when they were
pastime. I mean, you
little.
gotta do it.
Oh, you have, I mean, that is
Yeah,
the one,
till
I
you're
will
sick.
swing and I will
Well,
whip them on the merry-go-round.
And now we've got the old and the new, because, was that last year? We just did the new equipment. That was just last year, wasn't it?
2 years
2
ago.
years already. So we've got the new equipment that was put there. The merry-go-round is back. Slide?
There's a slide there, there's swings, and then if you drive past now, I think my crew sometime today will be putting up a banner advertising that we're putting in 4 pickleball courts
Yeah.
Where at?
at Civic Center Park. And so where the warming house is, where
Mhm.
there's normally skating.
Yeah.
So we will be putting the concrete level with the grass, and then so we can still flood it in the wintertime for skating.
That's excellent.
When do you think that
is
project starts?
awesome.
Contractor that's going to be doing the concrete work is anticipating sometime after the 4th of July.
Oh, the summer sale.
That's
okay.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
the-
this is Civic Center Park that we're talking about, and that is over on the north end.
That's on 5th Avenue by 9th Street.
Okay.
That's super
Lots
awesome.
of demand for pickleball. I
Yeah.
know the hockey arena has picked it up, so they have like the indoor pickleball, so any weather-related
Mhm.
stuff happens, we have indoor, now we'll have outdoor, which people really enjoy to play outdoor as well. That's gonna be huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're excited for
Awesome, I
it.
did not know about that.
And then the Civic Center building is rented out pretty much every weekend, I think, in the summer for
It gets
grad
pretty busy.
parties.
It's
and-
busy, yeah.
Yeah, we use it a lot for the chamber. It's a beautiful building. And then there's the playground there.
Yeah, and you can rent the Civic Center, anybody can rent it. Just go right online to the city website, and it's
Yep.
pretty cheap if you're a nonprofit.
Mhm.
For,
Yep.
if you're renting it during the weekday for meetings, or, I suppose birthday parties,
Mhm.
you could do.
I was gonna say, even nonprofit, not being a nonprofit, it's very inexpensive to rent it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
And you have full kitchen, bathrooms, the
Mhm.
fireplace.
Do we know how much it is? Like,
I
estimate
don't.
like $100 or something?
I'm not sure what it is. We
Yeah.
have to check with City Hall, but it's, it is a nice structure. I mean,
Absolutely.
it was pretty sad when we started working on it, but that was, there again, a labor of love. We went
Mhm.
through one rafter at a time, and it was a flat ceiling when we started, and it's a vaulted ceiling now.
Mhm.
Nice.
It's very nice. And then in the winter, as weather permits, you can flood it and
Yep.
kids can
Can
skate.
skate there.
So there's also a basketball court there
Mhm.
and horseshoe pits.
Oh, horseshoe pits, yeah.
And tetherball, unless that.
Oh, tetherball, that's another one where you can
Mhm.
get whipped right in the
Classic,
face.
Isn't that at Mark Park, or is that actually,
That's at Civic.
Civic?
That's at
Yeah.
Civic Center.
okay.
Mhm.
Used to be at Mark Park. So should we jump into Mark Park?
Sure.
All right, tell us a little bit about Mark Park.
Mark Park is probably our flagship park. It's probably one of the older ones. It's actually Mark Memorial Park. The Mark family donated the land for the park way back.
I was gonna say how long ago, like the Mark family, I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
that.
And in that facility, there's Solheim Field, which is for baseball, that's run by the Legion. And then there's another baseball field that's available to the general public. They use it as kind of like they call it the JV field. There's 3 softball fields with a concession stand complex with restrooms. There's a picnic shelter that was built by the Lions there, as well as playground equipment that's been updated to be more ADA compliant.
There's a wheelchair swing.
Yeah, we have an ADA wheelchair accessible swing.
That
Is
is,
there a sand volleyball court or?
Yes.
Okay.
Back in
yeah.
the corner, there's sand volleyball, there's walking trails.
Mhm.
And then as you go wrap around, there's up on top of the hill, there's a restroom facility with 2 picnic shelters adjacent to the splash park.
Mhm.
So Mark Park, it's the ball fields, majority of the use is from the schools or the Legion. A few church groups once in a while will be using it for, a pickup game or whatever. But then at the splash park, which was put in back in 2002, which was my first project when I started with the city. My predecessor was after me to come to work for the city and said, I got this project coming. He said, you'll be perfect for it. So all right, I'm up for a challenge.
Mhm.
So that's how long that's been there.
Okay.
And
and
it's,
that's a really popular, and I can only assume we draw from outside of the city too.
yes,
Yeah.
For
Which is
Splash Park,
great.
yeah.
yep,
to
And
get
there's a
people in
lot
here.
of, like Thursday and Saturday now of this week, there's free admission because some generous business owners are having it, paying for it and letting people come in for free. So the more that we can do that, the better as well.
That is so,
Yeah.
I've seen that on Facebook, like I recently, like 3 of them.
Yep,
Yeah.
and there's many in July.
Of
Too, that are
businesses,
free.
just,
Yep.
so it's a whole free day and anybody
Yep.
can go.
Yep,
Really cool.
That's nice with this hot weather that we got.
yes, perfect.
Mhm.
Tomorrow is one of them,
Tomorrow's gonna be even hotter.
is one
And
of the
one
free
of the free
days.
days.
Yeah.
Tomorrow Mike's Day?
No,
Legion.
that was
Legion,
Sunday,
okay.
and it kind of got weathered out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow's Legion, and then, was it Saturday, I think is the next one. I don't know, we've got bad weather Saturday, but,
No, we don't.
no?
No.
Okay.
Grad party, her son's grad party.
No such thing.
No?
It's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah.
you
Should've
can always
had it
move
at
it to the Civic Center.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So one that we have not talked about and I'm not familiar with, where is Riverview Park?
Riverview Terrace Nature Park is west of Rainbow. So if you're going north on Rum River Drive,
Okay,
take a left on 12th Street.
right before,
Yep, on the
Rainbow
south
Park?
side of it,
Okay.
yep.
Right
And
before what?
right before Rainbow
Rainbow
Park.
Park.
So Rainbow
Oh,
Park's
okay.
here.
Like at the
Street.
KNR?
No,
way past.
just
Oh,
the
okay.
road, there's a trailer park.
Yep.
Yeah, that road is
Okay.
12.
So if you go past Rainbow to 15th Avenue, there's a sign there that marks it. And there's actually a dedicated alleyway. It's really just a nature park. There was donated land when the development went in.
Okay.
They called it a park. Right now it's home to coyote, fox, deer, turtles.
Okay, so there's nothing to do, you can just go and
You
watch
can
and
walk
look
it.
and.
You can walk. It's like river bottom. You can walk through there. There's no designated trail. But you can walk down the river bottom and see all of nature.
Yeah. Which is
Interesting.
fun.
Yeah.
And we have, a couple years ago, I was approached by a gentleman who wanted to tap maple trees down there. So if you do go down there, you'll see his tubing that's set up. He's got a pretty elaborate setup, and so every spring, past couple springs, he's been tapping trees. And he pays the city $1 per tap, and the council has designated those funds to go to buy more trees.
Cool.
I am gonna get in my car and drive
Uh-huh.
there
Yeah.
after this recording.
Put on some bug spray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Mhm.
Oh, speaking of bug spray, we were gonna ask about the mosquitoes. Can you guys tell us about the spraying of mosquitoes in the city and how often you need to do that and kind of the process?
And can you spray my house?
Yeah, mine too. I've grad party July 8th.
So a lot of my crew has a license to kill. What we do in the springtime is in a lot of the standing water in what they call oxbows, where you'll go down through the park and you'll see water that's come up and then it's just sitting there. It's a great breeding ground for mosquitoes. without any movement, what we do is we treat those with what's called BTI, which is it's a growth inhibitor to stop the mosquitoes go through 4 larval instars before they pupate into being a full mosquito. So if we can stop that process, they'll either starve or drown. And so if we can stop that, we're stopping them. If they don't get a blood meal, they can't feed the young ones. And so that's our goal there in the springtime. We try and get those in early enough because they should last about 90 days.
Okay.
And then it's a real technical way how we determine whether we're going to spray or not. We go off of complaints, but then we also
you don't go off of Facebook?
No. Really? No. I like my job, so I'm not on Facebook. Yeah. But we do what's called a slap test. You just take a walk and it's that technical.
No way.
Yep.
We need one.
Yeah.
You
so
slap your partner.
They'll
Is
let
that
you know.
Come to my house, you'll be slapping yourself silly.
And so we try to hit the, areas where they're most prevalent, because if we can, the greater kill ratio, the greater success we have, because if there's not one out there to get a blood meal and feed the young, we're killing the young.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. So we go after,
The babies.
yep. And we're not going to save those.
No, that's all right by me.
Yeah.
So Jill, for the Lucky Duck race, there was a gentleman down at the park that was doing, I'm going to call it a needs assessment, but I'm not sure exactly. So basically, people would come by, and then there was all these little squares, and you could put stickers in areas of the parks that we would like to see. Like, do we think that we don't have benches to sit on? Put a sticker there. If we don't have, I think pickleball courts was on there or whatever. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So that's WSB,
Yes.
the engineer in town, and we have a park plan that they're working on for us to determine through many different ways, through their experience, but also through surveys and just going out to a couple of different vendor expos that we've had in town here so far, and getting people's opinions on, like you said, do we need a bench here? Do we need pickleball here? And so he's compiling all that data to come back to our park board and say, this is what we've come up with. This is where we need growth in this park, what kind of growth we need in that park, a different area in the city where a new park might be needed. So he's just out there gathering all of the information he can to help us make our parks bigger and better than what we already have.
That's awesome. And just for everybody listening and watching, there is a survey you can access on Facebook and take that survey as well.
And also on the city website.
Yep, okay.
Yep, so it's out there as well.
Yeah, so please take that. It takes a couple minutes.
Yeah, I
mean,
think
it's
it
really-
even says on there it's a 3 to 5 minute survey.
Yeah, it's very
And-
brief.
And it goes park by park, so it'll say, Civic Center Park, what do you want there? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What would you like to see there? And it'll just jump to each park.
Okay.
So, if the residents want to put their input in, and then, I don't know, when is he coming back? Fall, September?
I believe in September.
Come back with all the information for our park board, and we'll go through it and see what we can come up with.
Excellent.
Well, let's take a really quick break here before we wrap up, and then I'd like to hear more about the park board.
So,
We'll take a quick break and then we'll
Okay.
come back.
Twice New Clothing and Treasures, formerly known as the Princeton Clothing Center, is an all-volunteer nonprofit organization. The store has been in the community since 1953 and uses the proceeds from its sales of donated merchandise to support various causes and nonprofits in the community. Each year, Twice New puts thousands and thousands of dollars back into the community. What can you find at Twice New Clothing and Treasures? Almost anything. They often receive new clothing items with tags. In addition to clothing, you can find sheets, blankets, books, cooking items, knickknacks, purses, toys, and much more. And don't forget to walk across the hall to check out Twice New, too. This is an expanded area with lots of great finds. Twice New Clothing and Treasures operates off your purchases. The more you purchase, the more they're able to support the community, and they're always looking for volunteers. Check out Twice New Clothing and Treasures, located in the Princeton Mall at 116 South Rum River Drive. They're open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Come find your treasure at Twice New Clothing and Treasures.
Okay, and we are back. Jill, why don't you tell us about the park board and how many people are on that board and how often you meet and
Sure.
kind of what the mission is of the park board?
So we meet the fourth Monday of the month, so we're going to be meeting on Monday coming up here. There's 7 of us, and right now we have a full board. We've gone several years where we've lacked board members, so if anybody is interested, fill out an application with the city, and as people come off, we're always looking for more.
What's the term, sorry?
It's a 3-year term.
Okay.
So it starts in January, so you'd have a 3-year term, and they are staggered, so we don't always have a new one every year. It's or a whole new board every year. So I think there's 2 1 year, 2 the next, and 3 the next.
Okay.
Yeah, it's roughly an hour. Some meetings are shorter, some meetings are longer. In the summertime, we try to go to one of our parks to have the meeting. Community members, anybody who is interested, residents can show up at any of our meetings. They're posted for which park we'll be at.
This month, we're at Mark Park.
Okay.
Our meetings start at 6, and we're pretty good at starting right on time. Depending on what's going on, summertime, our meetings tend to be a little bit longer because there's so much going on in summer. Winter, we do take off November and December just because they land on holiday weeks, and there's just really not a lot going on in the wintertime. And then those other meetings, the fall and spring, usually an hour or less.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. I mean, at every single one of these parks, there's things to do, and we really hope to push this out to the community and get even more people to use them.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to, going back a little bit to Mark Park, I want to make sure that I give credit where credit is due. We've developed a great working relationship with the school district as well as PYSBA and the Legion to keep making improvements to that facility. And if someone wanted to make improvements, you can purchase a bench in memory of someone. You can you'll see lettered benches all around the parks. So if someone is interested in doing that, you can contact Sean at City Hall and she'll get you started on that.
Okay, that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up.
Can people donate stuff to the parks as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, actually what happens, so if you go out to Mark Park, there's some batting cages out there between the softball fields. They were purchased by PYSBA, but once it goes into the facility, it becomes part of the city.
They purchase and then it's donated.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And benches too, like Bob was saying, I know Bob and Jenny have purchased benches. I've purchased benches in a couple of different parks. It goes through the donation process with the council.
Yep.
They accept the donation, and then the crew puts them in. We get them ordered, and Bob's group goes out and gets them all put in.
We should all go. We should all get a bench.
I know. That's really cool.
Put our own name on there.
Uh-huh. This is Princeton bench?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, we should.
And then we do a podcast on it.
Yep.
It's like the benches that are at the bus stations.
Yep.
This is the best bench.
Best bench.
This is the greatest. It's the greatest.
We'll put cushions on ours.
Yeah, exactly. Bob, could you take those on and off each night for weather?
The air-conditioned bench.
We'll put it down in the Riverview Terrace.
There we go.
Yeah. Riverview Terrace, exactly.
It'll be the slap test bench.
Yep.
The record.
That's where you can put the medallion.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, we could put the medallion there. Yeah, it'd never be found.
Nobody will go down there.
All right. Well, thank you very much, both of you, for taking time out of your day to be here and get us all up to date on the parks. And thanks for all you do to keep our parks looking nice and updated and giving everybody things to do in the summer and the winter. Thank you to today's sponsor, Twice New Clothing and Treasures. and Sherburne State Bank, and we'll be back again with our next podcast in July. Until then, this is Kim, Mary, and Zach signing off. This is Princeton. Stay here, play here. Podcast produced by Kitzman Creations, music by Charles Moe. Be sure to subscribe to the Princeton Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Also, to view our awkward moments, check us out on our YouTube channel and visit us at www.thisisprincetonmn.co.